Hello and welcome back to Zero to Launch. We are excited with the guests that we have today. I think that you guys are going to just be blown away by the quality of guests that we have today. We're very excited to hear from Nanxi Liu. She is the founder of Blaze.tech, a no-code platform, which we are going to hear all about, and very excited to hear her story and just the projects that she is working on today. So I hope that you are ready for just a wonderful show. Nanxi, thank you so much for taking time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedule to talk to us and our audience today.
Andrew, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too. Believe me, this is one that I've definitely been looking forward to. So I'm very grateful. So why don't let's just start at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you get to kind of where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started as an entrepreneur right out of college. It was quite accidental. I started my first company, which was called Implug. I started it out of a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in Koreatown of Los Angeles with 4 other co-founders. And we built that company to be one of the biggest and most successful digital signage software companies.
Wow.
Sold that company, and then immediately with some of the same co-founders started Blaze.tech.
Awesome. And so what does Blaze.tech do?
So Blaze.tech is solving for a problem that we had at our last company, which is that we want people who are not technical to be able to build technical tools all without writing code. And so what we've done is enable anyone, if you can describe a tool, we want you to be able to implement it. And you don't need to learn how to code. You don't need to be an engineer. And you can build awesome things ranging from all sorts of web applications, from customer onboarding tools to admin panels to different types of dashboards.
Yeah, no, it's super fascinating. And obviously we know we kind of keep hearing the term no code or low code, and those things are kind of getting thrown around. I'm sure anyone who's reading or listening or trying to study the digital marketing space, how do you see the no code space changing sort of the traditional digital marketing space?
Yeah, I think the big piece is enabling so many people that felt like they had this really massive hurdle to overcome in order to build something. And we're saying, actually, you don't have that hurdle anymore. We want you to go and be as creative and be able to just move faster in building whatever you need to build and removing that barrier. So for us, it's opening the door to lots of folks that said, you know what, I don't know JavaScript, or I didn't know how to build this, and saying, actually, you don't need to. If you can describe it and you can map out the kind of tool you want, then on Blaze.tech, you can go and build that. And so for us, it is just inspiring more people to go and build.
Right. No, that's I think one of the great advances of our recent history, right, was the proliferation of the internet, and that was basically lowering one of the great barriers to entry. And then software has allowed us to build on the internet, but all of that has required a team of developers or coders or just an intense amount of time and resources. And I think what you're describing now is that you guys have built a platform and that allows now non-technical people who aren't familiar with, how to set up, how to use React and how to set up servers and how to do all those sort of things now to be able to enter into the space. So it's another great removal of a barrier to entry. I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly. Absolutely. And it's not just for folks that are, thinking about starting their own company, but we built the tool originally to solve the problems of our last company. Our last company, we were a software company. Half of the people on our team were engineers, but they're busy building the core product. They never have time to go build these tools that maybe it's our salesperson, our marketing person, ops person, technical support person, where they say, there's this one tool I want to build that's going to help do my job so much better. And now we're saying, actually, you can go and build it. You don't need to wait for your engineers. You don't need to go, take time away from your engineers that you have building the product to go and build these internal tools.
Right. So, I mean, this is really fascinating. One of the, just as an example, I just want to give you sort of an example, and then if you would just kind of talk to me about how how your software would sort of integrate with that. But we have, I have a small business where I manufacture and I want to sell candles. But one of the problems that I have is managing the inventory on of how many I have internally, and kind of like trying to process that. Is that something that you think your platform could help me with?
Absolutely. That is a perfect use case for Blaze. In fact, we have a customer case study on our homepage that talks exactly about a company that built a fully custom inventory management system on Blaze. The team there at ShipDudes, they're not technical, and they were able to build something fully custom that they wanted in a very short amount of time and saved themselves tons of money too. And it was so successful actually that they started selling the software that they built on Blaze, which we're also really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that a lot of times we on this podcast we're talking to digital entrepreneurs who are looking at trying to grow their business, or even some of them are trying to start and enter their business. And I feel like today's conversation really revolves around developing and thinking about the tools that are necessary internally to really expand a business, really to kind of take that to the next level. Many times, you grow it and you've got customers now and you've got some sales coming in, but suddenly, like I just explained and you did, inventory becomes an issue. How do you think non-technical founders, how do you think just entrepreneurs trying to kind of grow their business, scale their business, how do you think they should be thinking about either trying to buy some of these solutions off the shelf, or really trying a platform like Blaze.tech where they would craft and kind of build their own? What are some of the comparisons or differences in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for the ones that where you have, a software that you can use to do one specific thing, that's great. But oftentimes those systems aren't standalone. You want it to help you be more productive and enable you to have more time to, operate and think about your business and the strategy, and not so much on the operations, right? So what ends up happening is you buy 6 different software tools, each to do something different. And you realize now that you have data housed in 6 different places, they're not communicating with each other. And you thought that you were going to save yourself time, and you end up having to, double the work. I need to update this system that has the customer onboarding. Now I need to bring that data into the invoicing system, and then now the accounts receivables system. And so that's why I think folks, if they want to just have this seamless workflow, they'll come into Blaze. And the great thing about Blaze too is for our team, we actually have full implementation services. What that means is you can actually have our team implement the tool fully for you in no code. And so what that helps is if you wanted to make any changes or additions, you can go in to the no code tool and make those changes. But you also don't have to take the time to go and set up that tool if you don't want to. And so that's something that actually the majority of our customers takes advantage of, where we have a world-class team of engineers that are behind you to help you build the tool that you want just for you, so that you don't have to go out, hire somebody to go and set up a system or even learn how to use any no-code tool. You can just say, here's what I want. And then, a week later, we deliver it to you and you say, hey, here's your tool now.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is such an amazing thing. And it really is it's a shift in the way that we think about building tools. Wouldn't you say? And do you think that's maybe one of the greatest hurdles for Blaze.tech, is sort of the predominant thought is like, okay, I have an idea, I find a developer, I try and, try and map it out for him. And then he spends 3 to 6 months, and then he brings on 4 other developers. And like, after 12 months, I have a product. Like, is it challenging to try and make users aware that there's another way of thinking about these problems?
I think there is certainly a behavioral change or expectation change for people. So on the demo calls that I do, I immediately right off the bat say, hey, I know you've probably tried other tools that are, no code for different types of things. And it's like, there is still that hurdle to learn, to figure it out, to set it up. And the whole point is, we just don't want you to have to spend more time doing something that isn't absolutely the best use of your time. So learning a tool might not be the best use of your time. So let's take that away from you. You tell us what you need. We go, we implement it. And now the best use of your time is to, go and add something that you want,
Yeah.
or add a feature here and there. And for the kinds of folks that we work with, I think they immediately recognize, oh, this is here to support me and make me have more time, not less time.
Yeah.
And that's everything that we do at Blaze when we work with our clients is thinking about, okay, is this helping them save time and increasing the amount that they can spend, talking to their customers and being able to, make sales, et cetera. We really dig in deeply into our processes when we work with clients to make sure that's saving them time.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. I can sort of hear my listeners saying, yeah, this sounds really cool, but maybe it's for like big businesses. How would you speak to sort of maybe the solo entrepreneur or someone who's a little bit smaller when they're thinking about, no code or even Blaze.tech specifically?
Yeah, you can think of it. I mean, actually, I think the folks that get really excited are the small businesses or solo entrepreneurs where we say, hey, for a fraction of the cost, you have a whole entire world-class engineering team now at your disposal to go and build the internal tools that you want. You don't need to spend the time hiring, recruiting. You don't need to spend the time onboarding them, making sure that they are building in the right way. You have a full team ready to go. And so if you know what you want to build, we're going to go and execute it for you quickly. And so I think for a lot of folks that really resonates with them. And so, folks like Ship Dudes, where it is one main founder with a small team of operators that said, here's the inventory management system I want. Here's generally what I'm thinking. And we go and help him implement it. And we did it in a fraction of the time that he thought was possible. And the best way is I tell people, hey, just let us show you the magic of Blaze. Best time is if you're ready to say, I know what it is that I need to get implemented, and you don't need to be waiting around anymore. We're here to go and make it happen.
Now, the tools that are being built on Blaze, what are some of your favorite things that you've seen that maybe when you were founding it, you didn't think was like never crossed your mind? Like, have there been any surprises for you?
So many different surprises, actually.
Yeah.
I think people are so creative, and there, I think, is so many different types of ways to leverage Blaze that, again, I just didn't think was, possible. Like, originally it was all sorts of different CRMs. We fully expected that, lots of different admin panels. But the ones that became really interesting is where people build their entire business flow inside of Blaze. That gets us really excited. So from, building that onboarding piece to then saying, all right, now the customer is onboarded. I want them to now have all the invoicing connected. And then, all of that. So that's really cool. Another one is certainly we were not expecting somebody to build a tool and then also sell that tool too. Yeah. That is really cool. We certainly had the hope that that would be the case, but we didn't think it was going to happen so fast. And especially with the customer that we had onboarded, maybe just like a month and a half before, built the tool. And then a month and a half later, he's like, we're making money selling this tool now. And so that's pretty awesome. And then I think, we had somebody that was building a automated system to show all his, basically he has these subscribers that follow him to say, when they should buy or sell certain stock. And so he built an automated tool that connects into something called TradingView. And it basically just automatically alerts all the subscribers on, when they should buy or sell certain stock. Like, that's not something that we were planning to do, but it is something that can be built in Blaze because we can integrate with all sorts of external data tools and then bring it together.
Right. I think that's one of the amazing things about putting tools in people's hands and not necessarily, those tools are obviously our solutions, but it's almost giving them the tools to build their own solutions. And it's watching them sort of craft their own unique pieces that they need for their business, I think is such a cool thing. And from your perspectives, kind of watching those different ideas that pop out must be one of the real fun parts of founding a company like this.
It is. It's super cool. And our team talked about it and we're like, this is awesome. Like, yeah. It truly makes it fun for us each day.
Yeah. What are some good use cases that you could think of for, thinking about like the small e-commerce or someone who's selling some things on Etsy, even larger e-commerce type businesses? What are some examples? Even maybe in digital downloads. Not sure, but just kind of what are some use cases that you've seen that you think make a lot of sense?
Yeah. So one of the, actually, I would say lots of our customers will use Shopify for selling different things. But Shopify has a certain limited amount of features that are available. And so for Blaze, you can think of it as extending all of that capability.
Yeah.
An example is we have a client, they sell things on Shopify, and they wanted to be able to connect their customer support to data from Shopify. So what they built is actually a way to just automatically respond to support tickets from customers inside of Blaze. They built this tool. They can respond to the emails. But what was also awesome is they wanted, every time they respond to a customer support email, it looks up that email and it shows them how much has that person spent on their Shopify site, so that when they're responding to a ticket, they have more context about the profitability of that customer, whether to offer them more discounts. And so that for their team was so useful because it was before very manual work. It's like, all right, I have this customer support ticket, and now I need to go look up in Shopify and just see, okay, how much does that person spend with us? How profitable are they as a customer? And now it's all completely automated. You click into the email that you need to respond to, and it shows you how much they've spent with you, what discount codes they've used in the past, all of that information.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. Those are great things. I want to jump back a little bit in your story. You said something super interesting right at the very beginning. You said, almost by accident, I became an entrepreneur. Could you give us some insight into that experience for you?
I would say I accidentally became a lot of different things. Entrepreneur being one of them. When I was in college, I did not think I was going to be starting a company. I was just building lots of stuff to make money. I was an out-of-state student. I was from Colorado, went to school at UC Berkeley, and paying that out-of-state tuition. I had lots of different scholarships. I was in high school. I taught piano to help save money for college. And then when I was in college, I was building all sorts of random websites and apps to, again, just make money. Didn't think I was going to go make it a full-time job. But it was accidental because basically for one of my internships right before senior year, oftentimes that's the internship that if they offer you the full-time job, you go and do that full-time. It was at Goldman Sachs investment banking. And I could have gone on that, very stable, prestigious finance path. And it was a fellow intern at Goldman who introduced me to my first co-founder, David, at my last company. I talked to him for about 45 minutes the week of graduation when I was already planning to do something else full time. And I was like, you know what? This is so cool. I'm going to tell the company I'm not going to be going full time with them. I'm going to just start my own company, and immediately dived into starting my first company. And that's really how it started. And along the way, wow, I have been wearing different hats. Like I went and I produced a TV show and won an Emmy for a TV show. And that was very much also stumbling upon that. Became a board member at a couple different public companies. And that oftentimes I feel like it's my goal, and what I love is just building things and solving problems. And so I think because of that love and passion, it's led me into sort of these different types of careers.
Yes. Yeah. How would you describe that? Would it be some sort of a natural curiosity? Is it sort of, would you ascribe it to, a courageous or bold spirit? What are some of the characteristics that you think have aided you in finding those opportunities?
I think the first piece is just being resourceful and a problem solver. Like whenever there's a hurdle, and I see, other people might just see like, this is a problem. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a problem. Let me just immediately think about a solution. Like I don't let it get in my way, and I don't let it scare me. Another piece too is when you're solving a problem, oftentimes there's failure. You might fail the first time, second time, third time trying to implement a solution. And so recognizing that the first time you try a solution, if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean that you're dumb. That doesn't mean that you are a failure, right? That means, all right, you tried something and it didn't work. And so go and try something else. And I have to say, for all the companies that I've been involved with that worked out, and for the companies I built that have worked out, there were so many different random projects that completely failed. Even for the TV shows that I've done. Like, yes, I won an Emmy for one of them, but there are lots of TV movie projects that I've started on that just didn't get anywhere. And, you're like, like, bummer. But every time I'm like, all right, let me learn what I did that didn't make it successful. Like, what is something I can control? And I think that's a big piece too, which is just recognizing as much as possible, I can control the outcome. If you just say, I can't control the outcome, this is all luck, you're not going to be very motivated to go and build something and try a solution. But if you say, I'm going to try to control and try to just make these decisions for a certain outcome. If it doesn't work, I'm going to try again. Then that definitely helps. And I think another part of it is, being okay with failing and not calling it failing. Just go and do it. Do it. So like combination of not being scared to fail and just making actions happen.
Right. No, I think that's so important. That idea of like failing forward, where you're able to use those failures to build on, I think is maybe the distinguishing mark between successful and not successful entrepreneurs. It's everyone who's trying stuff is going to fail at stuff. It's being able to learn from it, being able to build on it, being able to grow through it. When you were sort of, I'm sure, where you are today and throughout your career, you've been presented with a million different opportunities. And there are, as a problem solver, you're probably like constantly battling this in your mind where you're like, that's a problem that needs to be solved. Oh, that's a problem that needs to be solved. Oh no, that's another problem. How do you start? How do you sort of evaluate? And do you have a process for saying, these are the opportunities that make sense for me and I want to go after? Is there some sort of a framework? Maybe it's not that formal, but is there something that you sort of use to kind of help focus that desire and your thinking?
I think the big piece is any kind of opportunity that's presented to me, whether to, go and be part of one of the producers for a TV show, or it's starting Blaze with my co-founders, or it is, going and saying, I want to, be part of this nonprofit. Everything comes down to, who are the other people I'm working with? Do I trust them? Do I respect them? Are they complementary to my skill set? Because I think for anything to be successful that I've been part of, it required a team. Very rarely is it just myself doing something. And so I've never had an interest in starting a company on my own, because I think I have the mentality of, no matter what, whether it's a co-founder or if it's just somebody that I'm working with, I need to make sure that they have skill sets that work with mine and that I can see a path to success. And so I think I would not be starting Blaze if I didn't have my amazing technical co-founders. I'm the non-technical person on the team. I'm one of the first users that tries any of the features that we release. Right. And so it is this really fantastic balance of skill set where, they wanted somebody that had, the product design and the sales and marketing piece. And I needed somebody who could go and actually build that on the back end. And so that worked really well. And so I think the team piece is the first thing I evaluate. Is that person I'm going to be working with, are they highly capable and absolutely one of the best at what they do? I don't need them to be good at everything, but I absolutely need them to be really good at something that is needed for the business and something that I don't have, so that we can bring in really strong skill sets together into one.
Right, a complementary team. That's so key. What would you today give as advice to your graduating self, as you were having that conversation and thinking about graduating? What is something that you sort of maybe wish that you knew, or a bit of wisdom that you think would have helped you?
Yeah, so I have a younger sister who is a rising junior at UC Berkeley.
Okay, perfect.
And so she gets to have my unsolicited advice pretty much on a daily basis.
Yes.
And I would say one of the things that I tell her, and it's something that I still tell myself, is just surround yourself always with absolutely the best people around you that you admire, that you respect, and don't be afraid to go for help. I think the times where I've made mistakes and didn't do well, or, I could have avoided these mistakes if I just asked really awesome, smart people for their help and support, and to not be afraid to do that. I think for me, I'm always used to helping others, and I want to go and step in and be like, oh, let me offer you this. Like, if you need this introduction, let me do it for you. Oh, you need me to come help volunteer for this event? Yeah, I'm there. And so I love doing that for other people, but I've also been bad at asking others like, hey, I'm stuck on this problem. I'm not really sure how to solve this. How would you go about it? And not being afraid to go and reach out to people for their help. Now, that being said, I think how you structure the help and who you ask is really important. You don't want to just spam people. And certainly, I think for me, I never feel comfortable to ask somebody if I didn't feel like I, in the future or in the past, had added value to them. So I always make sure, one, it's always adding value to people or organization. And then again, not being afraid to ask for help and support when you don't know about how to do something.
Right. No, it's really great advice. Let's transition a little bit to thinking about how you're trying to grow Blaze. And what are some of the channels that you are finding are productive for you guys? And what are some of the strategies that perhaps you're employing and finding success in?
Yeah, I say a lot of times with marketing and reaching people, it is just testing lots of different things and seeing what sticks and what works well, and also taking into account the people on your team and what their skill sets are. And so, we, of course, do the traditional digital marketing. We write content, and we want to make sure we produce really good content. So for us, it's not just about, throwing out, 10 blog posts a week. That's not going to be helpful if the content isn't great. And so recognizing always everything we do, the quality needs to just be fantastic. Making sure that we have a website that does a good job of telling our story, showing examples. I did a lot of personal outreach. In fact, most of our early customers, they were just through my existing network.
Right.
And they actually, before I even reached out to them, I just shared what Blaze does. And a bunch of our clients from our last company reached out. They had such a great experience using the product that we made at our last company. They trusted us. And so I always say, everything that you do is selling a product for yourself, in the future, because it's building that reputation. So that was fantastic. We had so many truly awesome companies that were very established enterprise companies, several that were Fortune 500 companies, where they reached out because they had worked with our team in the past. They trusted us to execute internal tools for them. And so that was one. So kind of word of mouth. And then we also worked with Ryan, who who also basically, he himself was just posting videos on TikTok that talked about what Blaze does. And that was fantastic because he's personally used Blaze and knows about Blaze. And so that's been fantastic of just getting people organically to know about Blaze. Like, if we have customers that love using us and they talk about us, that's the best way. And so that's been a fantastic channel for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. Something that we talk about is the in the sort of evaluation is audience. Does audience creation and development come first, or does product come first? And I know it's kind of a chicken and egg question, but it's fascinating to hear sort of how different people think about that. How do you, and maybe I'm stepping on my own toes here, but maybe it's a little bit of a technical and non-technical founder. I bet there's maybe a varying opinion here, but to you, what kind of comes first? Is it the audience or the product?
So I always think of it as the audience. And the reason I do that is because you can build the greatest product, but if you're not solving someone's problems, that's not going to be very useful. So I always think of it as the people. All right, who are the people we're trying to solve problems for? And let me build around that and build something that they're going to be willing to spend money on because we are making their lives better. Whether it's their personal lives, their work, professional life better, we need to just be helping them. And so I always think about it as the people, who am I trying to reach and solve problems for? And then I craft the product around that. Otherwise, if you want to just build for the sake of building, that's fine. Sometimes that can work, but it's going to be a lot harder because you might not solve anyone's problems, maybe just yourself, but you're not generally building something that's just for yourself. It's oftentimes you're building for a lot of other folks. So when we first were building Blaze, it was actually solving our last company's problems and lots of problems that our existing employees and teammates at our last company was encountering. And then we talked to other founders, product managers, people at other companies. They're like, yes, there's all these internal tools I want to build. We have a long backlog of it. We can't do it. Engineering team's always too busy. And we're like, aha, like that's the audience. It's the audience where they know the tool they need to build, but don't necessarily, they're tech savvy, but they're not technical. And that's who we want to solve the problem.
What is your vision for Blaze, and where do you sort of see maybe even the no code space evolving to?
I see Blaze as the company that anyone who, whether you're technical or not technical, you come to Blaze to help you build the internal tools so that your team and whatever you're doing, your operations productivity increases. That's the goal. And whether you are in e-commerce or you're in oil and gas, which we have lots of customers in, or you are a healthcare company. We work with lots of healthcare companies because we are HIPAA compliant and as a no-code tool, that is actually surprisingly rare. And so we want to just solve that problem for you. And so the long-term for Blaze is actually, it's not just for non-technical. Technical people love us too. And I would say almost half and half of the people that use Blaze, technical and non-technical, we make building for engineers a lot easier as well. And so at the end of the day is like, we want all your internal tools in your company or organization to just be built on Blaze, and that it solves all your problems.
And you mentioned that you have one, I think you call them the ship guys or ship dudes.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned that they've built a tool and now they are starting to sell on the tool. Do you see opportunities for entrepreneurs, just folks with good ideas, getting on your platform, building them out, and then actually using for the whole intent of not just selling them in some sort of a marketplace or something?
Absolutely. So in fact, one of my customer calls this morning was exactly this. This is a person that wanted to build a better workflow for invoices for the construction industry. And Blaze was literally just the perfect fit for him. And he's so excited. He works currently at a construction company. He's an engineer there. It's a big construction company. And he was like, this is a tool that I know is going to solve my company's problem, but I want to go sell it to all the other construction companies that I work with.
That's awesome. And do you imagine that at some point you guys will have some sort of a like a marketplace of your own, or do you see those types of products being sold individually, just sort of powered by Blaze?
We're definitely the powered by Blaze. For us, we're the platform. We don't want to compete against our clients. We want them to succeed. So we'll make a marketplace that showcases all of their tools and encourages people to actually buy tools made by our clients.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really fascinating thing to understand. And I think obviously the power of a platform. I think you would consider yourself a platform like what you're building. The amazing things that are going to be built on top of that will be so fascinating. So I know it's an exciting thing to watch. Nanxi, you've been very generous with your time with us today, and you've given us so much insight and value. I can't thank you enough for joining us today and participating. And we wish you all the best. And I'm sure many of our listeners will be eagerly looking and checking out Blaze.tech. So is there a way that perhaps folks could follow you or connect with you? Is there places they could do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Twitter. It's at Nanxi_Liu. You can follow us at Blaze No Code, which has a lot more interesting content than the ones on my personal Twitter feed.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely check us out there. And of course, on our website has some great examples, Blaze.tech.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Folks, we hope that you had a wonderful time in the show today and picked up a lot of great insights. I'm sure that you did. This is Andrew Hemingway, your host. And please tune in next week for another Zero to Launch.